before we close up, I don't know, is there any questions you have for me or anything else you want to say? Or
how come you decided to come and live to this beautiful country? I that kept on my mind.
That's a great question. First of all, everybody in the chat, aloha to my friend. We got a friend, somebody watching from Hawaii, my friend, comedian James Mane, Jimbo Main in the chat. Well, several things. I'm a Bitcoiner.
Okay.
And so I got into Bitcoin about 2019, really started following it in 2020 when the pandemic hit. I'm a stand-up comedian and all my tour dates were canceled. So I had to start working online. And there's a channel, there's a platform. It's like a YouTube, but it's called Rockfin, and they pay the content creators in a cryptocurrency. Okay. And I had to learn about that. And I started learning about Bitcoin, and I watched Max and Stacy's show a lot. And so I started really following it. And so when I heard about this, President Bukele made Bitcoin legal tender, I went, oh man. I go, this is going to be the first domino to fall. I think this is going to start spreading probably around Latin America, but I don't know. And I started paying attention to all of these little like Bitcoin bubbles, kind of how El Zonte started. Before Bukele, it was still it was Bitcoin Beach. Yep. And all of these little Bitcoin bubbles are starting kind of all over the world. And so I started paying attention, and I follow Max and Stacy and a bunch of other Bitcoiners on Twitter.
Yeah, I want to say hello to Max and Stacy, that maybe they are tuned right now, and I don't know where, but hello, Max. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, Max and Stacy. They're traveling. So, and I started to see there's a report came out about a year ago, last March or so, April, saying El Salvador is now the safest country in Latin America. It used to be the murder capital. I was like, what? Because I didn't pay that much attention. I paid a little bit of attention, but I didn't pay attention to when Bukele arrested all the gang members. I started going, wait, what? And I started following all of these people, some of them, these Bitcoiners who were down here saying, we're here, it's amazing. And then I started following Sandy Waves. And she goes, I'm a Bitcoin tour guide. I'm El Salvadorian. I want to show you my, and I was like, what? And I reached out to her and we spoke on the phone. And she started to tell me how, she goes, I've lived here my whole life. It's always been dangerous. And now it's not. She goes, you have no idea. And I was like, I'm coming down. I said, I've got to come down and see this for myself. So I came down in June and I met all these Bitcoiners and I stayed in El Tunco and I looked up, because I'm a surfer. Very good waves. So very good surfing. And I think it was a surf competition right after I got here. I just missed, there was a surf competition. So I was like, wow, if pro surfers are coming here, they don't go where the waves are bad. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I met all these Bitcoiners, and I met, and I interviewed them. I'm trying to raise money for a documentary. I met Michael Peterson, and he told me the whole Bitcoin Beach story. And I had dinner with Max and Stacy. I'd had Max and Stacy on my YouTube show like 2 years prior. Okay. And they got me to see the difference between crypto and Bitcoin.
Stacy she's very particular on that, and she never talk about cryptocurrency, talk about Bitcoin.
Yes. And I saw how they, they opened up the Bitcoin office and started advising Bukele. And then when El Salvador passed the policy saying that Bitcoin was a commodity and altcoins were securities, I was like, well, that's a huge distinction. That's a big deal. And that's going to set a global precedent. Because every country now is trying to figure out what laws do we pass with regulation, especially America. And America might get it wrong, of course. But so I'm seeing all of the problems happening in America. And then I come down here and I saw hope. And October of 2022, I did a tour in Europe, 6 different countries, some countries I'd never been to before. And it was beautiful. And I went to some countries, we did some shows, and some people were, it was okay. But the hope that I've encountered in this country from El Salvadorians in particular, and I would ask all of them, cab drivers on the street, I said, what do you think of Bukele? They said, oh, he's great. He's amazing.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. He's great. And I asked El Salvadorians in LA, I go, what do you think? They're like, oh man, my family now is safe. And like everyone said what he's doing is amazing. And when I came down here and I was like, I got to see this for myself because I'm a Bitcoiner. So I don't trust, I verify. Right? So I came down here to see it and I saw the proof of work.
Okay. Yeah.
And people telling me how safe it was. Like I said, we went to Los Compañeros and Soyapango and I was like,
La Campanera, yeah.
oof.
Yeah. Terrible.
I felt the energy of what those neighborhoods used to be.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
very dangerous.
Very dangerous. And now we're walking on the street. And the police officer said, yeah, you're fine. And I was like,
yeah, you can see children's, playing all over the place.
Yeah, these children came up and wanted to talk to us, and I was like, oh, hey, he had like an American baseball shirt. And I speak, my Spanish is getting better. I'm studying. Yo estudiar español. And I said, tu gusto baseball americano? And he's like, yeah, see. And I was like, oh, I mean, my team was the Chicago Cubs. And we started, and my Sandy Waves goes, that you wouldn't have, the kid wouldn't be on the street before. So when I saw it and I saw the hope, and then I saw like Bitcoiners coming down here, and they're different than crypto people. The crypto people, a lot of them, some, not all, but a lot of them seem like they just want to make money and buy Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin people, not that they don't want to make money, but they were wanting here to help.
Yeah. That's a huge difference. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely.
And that's what drew me. I was like, I want to be a part of something good. I want to help in my little way to make the world a better place. And I saw Mi Premier Bitcoin. I saw what they were doing. I saw all these projects. I went to Piraya.
La Piraya, la isla, yeah.
Yes, Bitcoin Island.
Yeah.
And they were like transforming that island, these two Bitcoiners.
Yep.
And I see like what's happening in Berlin. And I'm like, And then I came back in November for adopting Bitcoin, and I just saw like more roads were paved from June to November.
Yeah.
And I was like, I live in Los Angeles and it's getting worse.
Well, not only Los Angeles,
all
over the country.
All over America, it's getting worse. And I come here and it's getting better. And I see there's a lot of problems. You had 4 decades of war and violence and corruption. So you have a lot to overcome. But again, don't trust, verify. I saw in 4 months from June to November, I saw a huge difference. And I'm like, I want to be a part of this. How can I help?
And you're here.
And that's what all the Bitcoiners do. Everybody says, here's my area of expertise. How can I contribute?
Yeah.
And I was like, and Max was like, Graham, there's no comedians down here. There's no entertainers. There's no show business. There hasn't been show business here because it was, the crime and all that other stuff. So I said, well, I want to bring my area expertise, which is
cool,
making movies and TV shows. And I've made 3 documentary films. I have a TV series on Amazon and I want to help. And I'm a Bitcoiner and I like surfing and, I like pupusas. And so
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and I want to thank all the Bitcoiner communities for all the contribution that you guys are, giving to our country. I want to end up this participation with a very clear idea, and I think El Salvador will and can impact the world by examples, right? As the president himself has said, the example that if a nation decides to change its old and useless structures, it can. That's the way. So pay attention on my next words. In a few years, our country, El Salvador, went from being one of the most violent nations in the world and became the one safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And that happened in a couple of years. We have dignified the health system, and we are working to dignify our educational system in only 5 years, and we are going for more. Every single day that I woke up, I've been moved and inspired for the only purpose of create, build, contribute to have a much better country that we found 5 years ago. And I'm convinced the gaps, as you were saying, are enormous. We've been 4 decades, more than that, more than 4 decades, with government corruptions, violence, and everything. We are on the right path. And I believe that El Salvador can impact other nations, as I said before, with example that will and a firm mandate, the mandate of our president, Nayib Bukele. He has a very clear vision. I like to think that you and me, Graham, are thinking on a cup of coffee that we're going to take when the show finishes. Mr. President is thinking on how he wants to develop this country and how he imagines this country can be in 5, 10 years from now. That is the president that we have. He inspired every actions that the governments made. He's been inspired in people and for the people. Every single actions, it has that inspiration. So, again, we are honored to be part of the story, to, put our contribution to a very wide and ambitious transformation of our country. So, we believe that we don't need to be influenced by external agendas and unfunded international prescriptions. We can achieve great things, and this is just beginning. So we have many things to go. So it was.
Mr. Minister, I very much appreciate your time, and I think, I totally agree. As we wrap up here, I think this is what El Salvador is doing. Is it is setting an example for the world. I think this is a roadmap that other countries have to pay attention to now. They have to, especially with the 85% win, with the economy going better. People, you can't deny the fact. He paid back part of the loan to you can't deny that. And other countries are going to go, we have to do. I've traveled a little bit around Latin America and talked to people from other Latin American countries, and they all say, man, I wish we had a Bukele. They all say that. Mexico, Costa Rica, they all say it.
We want Bukele. We have to clone Bukele in order to be our president. We want Bukele to be a Latin American president, and you can continue hearing all those phrases that validate the public policy that Bukele is implementing in El Salvador.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I'm honored to interview you. I'm honored to be asked to come down to this country and to be able to help in a place where people want it and are trying to make things better. And that's something that's really cool to be a part of. So.